Day.
The reforms I'm proposing would not apply to those who are here illegally. It's not true.
So you accept the fact that he was a born American?
I'm not, no comment.
You know, if I could write that bill instead,
do it.
It would,
yeah.
Excuse me, it would be a dream come true. I feel your pain. I know I stood 12 feet away from the guy and listened to him. And I couldn't stand being there.
Welcome back to Harbor. Those were just a few examples of how members of the United States Congress treat President Obama with blatant disrespect. Now, Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois has posted this message on his Facebook account. Quote, many Americans searching for something to say in defense of the disastrous shutdown strategy will say President Obama just doesn't try hard enough to communicate with Republicans. But in a negotiating meeting with the president, one GOP House leader told the president, I cannot even stand to look at you. Let me repeat that. I cannot even stand to look at you, a person said to the president of the United States in his company. Well, White House Press Secretary Jay Carney said today the exchange didn't happen, and aides to both House Speaker and John Boehner, Majority Leader Eric Cantor, and their bosses say it didn't happen, nor did he recall anyone else saying it. But make no mistake, this president has been subjected to a pattern of disrespect, unprecedented in its vitriol and its scope, and I think this happened. Joining me right now, MSNBC political analyst David Corn, who's the Washington Bureau Chief for Mother Jones Magazine, and Cynthia Tucker, who's a visiting professor at the University of Georgia. Cynthia, I believe Dick Durbin's an honest man. I believe he's a responsible, sober-minded leader. When he says something like that, it staggers me. It must have staggered him when he heard it. I do understand why the White House would want to not make a big issue out of it, because in a way, certain insults are truly insulting, even if they were delivered by a bad person. They hurt both sides. Your thoughts?
Well, Chris, the reason that this remark is so plausible is because there has been so much disrespect hurled at the president. I, too, understand why Obama would like to minimize this and say it didn't happen. Perhaps he's gotten used to it. You know, they have called the man everything but a child of God. But we know for a fact that Joe Wilson yelled out, "You lie," during the middle of a presidential address to Congress. We know for a fact that ever since Barack Obama's first presidential campaign, prominent Republicans have been suggesting that he wasn't born in the United States, that he's a usurper who came to the White House illegally. That bandwagon in the first campaign, by the way, was led by Sarah Palin, who was the vice presidential nominee on the Republican ticket. So we have witnessed so much disrespect heaped on this president that it is easy for us to believe that what Dick Durbin said was true.
Let me go to David Corn. Your view on this subject was, I think it gets to this I think it's beyond even tribal. I'm trying to think of a word for tribal's not a good American word. Something about personal tissue rejection. We don't accept, like in the body, the human body, we don't accept this artificial arm that's been put on us, or artificial heart. Our whole being, this is only about 20% of the country. My God, I'm so thrilled when I think about it, how 75%, at least of this country, has accepted Obama. Okay, I didn't disagree with the guy, but he's our president. And we disagree. That's all. It's not personal. But some people have this visceral thing where they got to say, that guy, whatever his name is from the Midwest, I couldn't stand standing next to him for 10 minutes. I couldn't figure that guy out. I'm not sure he was in great shape when he said that either. But he said that. What else could he be? I'll give him a break. Maybe he wasn't in great shape when he said it.
Chris,
your thoughts?
We've been talking about this for years now. It goes on and on. You know, and it's not, you know, sometimes it's outright disrespect, like you lie. And I think more prominent members of the Republican Party do it a little differently. Mitt Romney, when he ran for president last year, 2 years ago, he put out a presentation in which he said Barack Obama doesn't believe in the American experiment. Newt Gingrich, who's gotten a TV gig on another network, said the only way you can understand Barack Obama is if you thought of an anti-colonial Kenyan. Mike Huckabee said he didn't believe that Obama didn't believe in American exceptionalism. Again and again and again, we see people on the right, Republican leaders, either using crude language like "you lie" or more sophisticated arguments, all to say this guy doesn't deserve our respect, he's not really one of us, he's not in America, he doesn't understand Americans or the American experiment, the American nation, and it just doesn't stop, whether it's birtherism, otherism, or something else. I mean, it just goes on and on. I happen to think, I actually find it really hard to believe that John Boehner, Eric Cantor, Kevin McCarthy, as much as I might disagree with their policies, would actually say that to the president's face. But nevertheless, they lead a party that again and again is taking the low road, the cheap shot, all to sort of make Obama different.
And they don't, swat that down. They don't object.
That's a good point.
To
no, they
that
don't
kind
at all.
of language when they hear it.
They exploit it. In fact, you know, I remember during the health care debate, there was a Tea Party rally on the steps of the Capitol that were authorized and was blessed by John Boehner and the Republican leadership, and people started shouting Nazis, Nazis, Nazis about the Democrats and Obama who wanted to pass the health care bill. And John Boehner and Eric Cantor just sort of stood there. They don't, you know, they don't mind this. They exploit it. It's where the energy on the right is these days.
Well, Congressman Doug Lamborn, of Republican from Colorado, said that being associated with President Obama would be similar to touching, well, here he goes, a tar baby. Let's listen.
Oh, God.
Even if some people say, well, the Republicans should have done this or they should have done that, they will hold the president responsible. Now, I don't want to even have to be associated with him. It's like touching a tar baby and you get it, you know, you're stuck and you're part of the problem now and you can't get away.
Well, you heard it. I didn't say it. I didn't make it up. That's a Congressman. Lamborn spokeswoman later said that the congressman sent an apology letter to the president appropriately. But what caused the instinct to talk like that, Cynthia?
Yeah.
Well, I am delighted when I hear that sort of rhetoric because it peels back the covers. You know, Republicans want to deny that this disrespect for the president, this vitriol, this hatred, quite frankly, of the president has anything to do with race. Of course it does. It has everything to do with race. That's its foundation. Am I saying that anybody who agrees with who disagrees with the president is a racist? No, I'm not. But I am saying that in that 20 to 25% of Tea Partiers are people who will never be comfortable with the idea of a black president. Howard was talking about Cruzism earlier and how bad this disrespect for the federal government has become. Well, for a bunch of people who see a black man heading that federal government, hatred is the only way they know how to respond.
Put this together, if you can, with another explanation. That may well be the truth, by the way, what you just said, Cynthia. By the way, I just am afraid to say, because then you got to get into somebody's heart and mind if you say it. But on the outside, historians will probably look at it and say, let's look at Okun's razor here. Why do they talk about him in a totally different way they talked about other presidents? Could it obviously be the obvious? But David, look at this. Phrases like, I can't stand to look at you. I couldn't stand being 10 feet from you. This personal, almost like kids who were like, I don't want your cooties. I mean, that's how kids used to talk for 8-year-olds. I don't want your cooties. I can't drink out of the same soda bottle as you. Well, and this weird kind of separation thing they do, I'm calling it a tissue rejection because it has nothing to do with ideology or debate or different parties or history.
No, you're
it
right.
seems to have some weird kind of thing. I don't want to be seen at home as comfortable in the presence of this guy.
Well,
I want to look like I'm awkward.
Yeah,
Go ahead, your thoughts.
There's something quite visceral, emotional, psychological about this. It's not about policy differences. I mean, Obamacare came from the Heritage Foundation, right? It's not, you know, and Obama in a lot of ways has made concessions, hasn't been nearly as liberal in some ways that liberals would like him to be.
That's for sure.
He has reached out on the stimulus bill. He gave 1/3 in taxes when liberals and progressives didn't want that, trying to, bend over backwards to get Republicans on board. So he hasn't been this radical, wild-eyed liberal that they think, and the country has not fallen to pieces, but yet they have this this character view of him where he is a secret socialist or Muslim trying to destroy the country. Not that he's just wrong or has a bad set of policies. I never thought that George W. Bush or Dick Cheney wanted to destroy America. I may have disagreed with what they were doing, but I never thought they wanted to actually destroy and bring America down. Well, a lot of people on the right do believe that about Barack Obama. And you have to wonder where that's coming from and why that is, and why they just can't accept that he might see things differently from them, and that he's as patriotic and cares as much about America as they think they do.
What a strange lefty he is, isn't he, David and Cynthia? He kills all our enemies and doubles the stock market. Thank you, David Corn.
Yes.
Thank you, Cynthia Tucker. Up next, John